So part of the reason why I wanted to come back is because this is where my family is. And I just assumed that when I would come back, things would be the same. I could sort of just like jump back into life. And so much has changed. And one thing in particular that has changed is, one of my siblings is now living with a pretty serious mental health issue. He has a form of schizophrenia. And what I realized, and this is the part that I took for granted, is that, I spent all this time in China and I was like so occupied with like living my own life. And I just thought that, okay, I'll come back to the US and I'll be able to like, hang out with my brother again and things will be like they were before. And what I'm realizing is that like, that's not the case.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Cultural Collision 北腔南调. I'm Victoria.
I'm EJ.
Today, we'll be talking about gratitude, a powerful emotion that transcends cultures and unites us in surprising ways.
Absolutely, especially with the Thanksgiving holiday this week. In this episode, we're not only exploring the various ways that we express gratitude in our own cultures, but also reflect on how this practice has shaped our lives over time.
Speaking of the gratitude, we want to discuss first is how do different cultures show gratitude? So EJ, do you want to start?
Yes. So the three things that I thought of that I feel like were pretty exemplary of how gratitude shows up. Obviously, the first is just saying thank you or saying thanks. I feel like this is pretty standard, although I find that sometimes people use this like sarcastically, even when they like don't actually mean thank you, which I feel like can be confusing for people, especially if you aren't big on sarcasm, something that I sometimes even struggle with. Acts of service are really big. Sometimes, when you want to thank someone for doing something, instead of just saying something, you do something for them. I think, a lot of people might know acts of service because it's also a love language that people talk about. So when you want to pay things forward or give back to someone or a community, I feel like acts of service are big, something that I rely on. And then lastly, like gifts. I think like gifts are a big way. And they don't always have to be lavish. I think that it's something about spoiling someone with something very like sentimental or something that you think or that they will really appreciate. I feel like those are the three big ways that gratitude come up in my life. How about for you?
I think thank you. I totally understand and also agree with like we always say thank you for like if we're in a restaurant, we say thank you to people who serve us. Or like sometimes we go to the shopping mall, someone helping us to hold the door, we say thank you to them. But I also understand you're saying about like sometimes we use thank you as like sarcastically. I remember like people say 我谢谢您. Sometimes it's not really showing they are appreciated, right? Like in a sarcastic way. Yeah, I think, that's very interesting. I don't know, like, but it's better than like saying something bad to people. Just like in a way is try to say something funny or like that. I think for Chinese people, there are other ways is like giving the red envelope. So 发红包. I think not really is a way if you want to give this from like an elder generation to younger generation. Is not like that. It's just for like in Spring Festival. But the other way around is for us to giving the red envelope to our parents or grandparents is a way showing like gratitude for them to raise us or like we know they're so hard working every day and try to help us, and that's a way for showing like gratitude for Chinese people. I think there's other things we do is we also offer help or do something kind for someone as a way of expressing gratitude indirectly as a Chinese people. That's kind of like those three ways I can think of how like Chinese people say like showing gratitude. We never have like someone teach us to like you need to show your gratitude, but like saying thank you is always one, but that's like across different cultures. What do you think?
It's interesting. I wonder, have you ever, so when I was in college, my Chinese professor would say, he would always comment that the American students would use 谢谢 too much, we would say thank you too often. And he would say, like, you would say thank you for, like you said, for like someone holding the door, or a server at a restaurant bringing your food out to you. And he was like, I always thought that was so interesting, because he's like, isn't it a server's job to bring their food out for you? Like, why would you thank a server for doing something that they're supposed to do? Right. Which I always thought was interesting, because I was like, oh, like, he would also say, like, oh, when the taxi driver drops you off at your location, you don't say, like, thank you for getting me to your location, because if the taxi driver didn't get you to your location, then they wouldn't be a taxi driver. I don't know. I don't know if I like necessarily believe it. I mean, I think about it a lot, and I don't know if it has made me say thank you less, but it has definitely made me think about, when I do say thank you, like, do I actually mean it, or am I just like saying it out of habit, right? You know, like, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but in English, like, when someone says, like, I don't know, like, have a good day, you just automatically say, you too, without even thinking about it. And so sometimes I wonder, like, is it just a reflex to just say thank you, and I don't even think about what am I actually thanking? So I think that's my takeaway from my Chinese professor.
I think that's a
I don't
very
know. How do you
interesting,
feel?
that's a very interesting opinion from like your professor. I understand his point of view. Like, it's their job to serve you, and but it's different, right? Like, but I always say, like, for me, I personally, like, if I took a taxi, and I always say thank you when I arrive at the destination, and I always say thank you to people who help me. Like you said, maybe like it's something like it's already become a habit, so we say that a lot, like without like really thinking about it, but still, like, I think for them it's a way of showing gratitude. And they, when they
Mm,
hear about it, right, they don't care about you like really mean it, or just like you're saying thank you as just a gesture. I think it's a nice way anyway, and
mm.
doesn't hurt if you say thank you too much, right?
Yeah, I don't think so either. I find that it's interesting that, just since we're talking about words, like English and Chinese, even just the words, I think that, like, in English, you can really only say, like, thank you. But I feel like in the similar context in China, you could also say something like, oh, like, 麻烦你了, right? Or like,
Mm.
辛苦, like, 辛苦你了, which is sort of the same. You're sort of expressing gratitude for the work that you know someone is going to have to do. And I wish that English had other ways of being like, you know, I know this is going to like trouble you. And like, so me acknowledging that I'm sort of inconveniencing you is a way of showing thanks as well. And I think that's something that English doesn't really have, which I've always appreciated about the Chinese language.
So you just mentioned appreciate it. I always
Mm,
I recognize that word is also showing gratitude. I agree with you.
mm,
Sometimes I feel like thank you is not enough. Like, I really
mm,
appreciate these people helping me for like a favor ask, like last minute, or like a quick thing. But I feel it's a lot, and they helped me. Sometimes I will say like, I appreciate your help, right? I mean a lot. For Chinese, we have a different ways of saying that. I think for English is like limited to not only maybe thank you. I feel like appreciate is also a way of showing gratitude.
I agree. I agree. When you think about gratitude and appreciation and the ways that that has impacted your life, I like to think about it in terms of not just the way that we do it, but also the like literal impact that that has on us psychologically and on our well-being. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the ways that expressing and showing gratitude actually has impacts on our quality of life. So one of those ways is just generally is expressing gratitude has been associated with positive mental health outcomes, right? Grateful individuals often experience lower levels of depression, stress, and higher levels of life satisfaction, which is funny enough, we were just talking about that before with sunlight and like vitamin D, and fall and winter are times where, you know, there's less sunlight, people have seasonal affect disorder. Maybe now is a really good time for people to be maybe saying thank you a little bit more than they would at other parts of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think if we live in a place often have like cloudy days, raining all the time, we feel like depressed. And research shows people are inclined to get depressed in autumn and winter because we have like less time to expose under the sunlight. So that makes sense. So, but we never really like show appreciation of like, oh, today is shiny day. The lights are so like brightening, it's so like 荒野. I was like, oh, I cannot deal with this. I need to wear sunglasses. I need to bring umbrella. I need to block this. But sometimes we feel like that also gives us energy to really enjoy the time, enjoy like what the nature brings us. Of course, it helps with our mental health. Yeah, I feel like very different. Like when I was outdoor or out there, and they're like sunny day or like rainy day, it's so different. Like it brings you so different.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's the time you should like really appreciate. Maybe not only sunny day, maybe when a rainy day because the weather is not so hot because I'm in Singapore. So like the rainy day also can be like appreciated because the rain and the weather doesn't feel like so hot. That's also something you can be appreciated for, and also feels good. I think it definitely helped a lot with like our psychology like level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another impact that expressing gratitude has on our lives is that generally speaking, it can overall improve our relationships. So, gratitude is linked to the development and maintenance of positive relationships. People who express gratitude may experience improved social connections, greater empathy, and stronger interpersonal bonds. Is that something that you have experienced in your own personal relationships?
Hey, do I really like there's something I like to do is frequently, not frequently like, but like I try to express my gratitude to my friends once in a while, because I think
Mm,
a lot of friends been with me for a long time, and it's hard to keep relationship in a long distance. And often talk to them, I also like I want to show them like appreciate you being there when I need you, and also like
mm,
I want to be there with you when you need me. I think that's very important for like showing our gratitude even to like our close friends, and they will feel like very good. Sometimes I like I will watch a video and the video tell me like, if you watch this video and makes me think of anyone, just forward the video to them. And so
mm.
listen to podcast, like they will tell. We also want to encourage our listeners right now. If you can think of anyone you want to show gratitude, I want you to express your appreciation to them, just do it now. And they will feel good. And also at the meantime, they will make you feel good. Do you think so?
Absolutely. Yes, I love doing that. I will always send messages to people, not always, but I try when I'm thinking of them, I'll just say, like, hey, I'm thinking of you. Or to your point of appreciating something that a friend does, I try to be specific. I'll say, like, wow, I am really thankful that, you texted me when I was going through that time. Like, I really appreciated that. I really needed that. Or, wow, thank you for saying that, like complimenting my outfit. Right? That it's a small thing, but I try to be specific when I can when I give those thanks, because I think that encourages that positive behavior in other people and your friends, so that if they know that you appreciate it and you're thankful for it, then they'll hopefully continue to repeat that behavior or action in the future.
Yeah, totally. Highly recommend our listeners do it now. Just show your appreciation to your grandparents, to your parents, to your loved ones, to your close friends.
Another positive impact that expressing gratitude has in our lives is it helps us deal with stress better. Gratitude practices have been found to help people cope with stress. By focusing on positive aspects of life, individuals may develop resilience and adaptive coping strategies. Do you feel like saying thanks and appreciation has helped you with stress?
I think definitely. I can think of one thing is like we all have a lot of stress coming from work, right? And we feel like very stressed and feel like our body shuts down sometimes, like because we're too stressful and like overwhelming with all different tasks we will need to do. And but think in the other way. Don't think of like I have a lot work I need to finish. Think other ways is I have a stable job for now and have a stable salary, which helps me to live a life I want. In order to do that, I think in a positive way, it definitely helps with like coping the stress. Because like if we think negatively, that doesn't help at all. We still have the jobs, we still have the task we need to finish. But like if you're thinking negatively way and you do it with like resentful, doesn't help at all. So I'm not saying like we should brainwash ourselves, but just like we cannot change the situation. Then we need to think like in a bright way and show gratitude to the things we still like having right now, and helps a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think sometimes when you overdo it, you get into a place where you can like gaslight yourself maybe into thinking things are better than they are. But I definitely sometimes like before bed, especially if I've had a pretty stressful day, I will like force myself to list 3 to 5 things I'm grateful for before I go to sleep. And then I do it in the morning as well. And it has to be different things. I can't repeat anything. Because yeah, I've found that like when days where I'm like really stressed or I'm really anxious about something, if I practice gratitude, it like helps me ease. I'm like, like even though I'm stressed, I have all these things to still be grateful for.
Yeah, that's a good meditation. Yeah, that's a like a
Mhm.
very good one. Do you know gratitude also can increase our pro-social behavior, such as helping others and contributing to the community? People who feel grateful may be more inclined to engage in acts of kindness and social responsibilities.
Couldn't agree more. I am someone who definitely uh, tries to get involved in community things as much as possible. I think it allows me to, as it said, have this sense of social responsibility for my community and to be thankful for my ability to contribute to the community and help make it better. But on the receiving end of it, I'm also grateful because other people in my community also feel that sense as well. Actually, speaking of acts of kindness, when I was in college, there was a club called Random Acts of Kindness. And it would just be people on campus and like they would give out free hugs, not that you would pay for a hug, but they would just stand with their arms open, like, do you need a hug? And it was like the nicest thing ever. They would write thank you notes for people. They would give out compliments if you felt like you needed a compliment. And like little things like that, even though it does seem really silly, right? Like if you went into the mall and someone was just standing there saying, do you want a hug? I think a lot of people would think that would be weird. But if you needed a hug from a stranger can honestly feel incredible and amazing and make all the world of a difference if you were having a bad day. So I'm definitely a big fan of this.
I recently read this is they say, like when you feel happiness, it's not really like a big thing happens, but sometimes as you get a hello or like a thank you from a security guard or from
Mm.
like a cleaner in your neighborhood. I remember this. Sometimes I go to work and I walk past by a cleaner in my condo, and sometimes they say good morning to me. It feels so good in the morning. I say good morning back, and yeah, it does feel like really is unexpected happiness, and but it's very
Mm.
small things. So like you don't have to be like doing great things or like good things for your community. You can just do small and from the people around you. Saying something like really small to people around you, do it like a little favor to people, and that like really helps a lot, like with like this pro-social behavior.
Mm. Yeah, and community is so important and feeling integrated into your community because that helps us have a sense of belonging. And gratitude plays a huge role in our sense of belonging because it can foster this sense of feeling appreciated and valued because you have a positive social identity and you have a sense of being a part of a supportive community. So whether it's sense of belonging, pro-social behavior, coping with stress, improved relationships, or just overall positive mental health or well-being, I can't really think of a reason not to give thanks or to be grateful. So hopefully some of this resonates with you. And as you all go out and say thanks and give thanks, hopefully you can feel some of these positive impacts in your own life.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we think about like a lot of things we take for granted. People or like things we take for granted in our life. Let's discuss strategies to avoid taking things for granted and fostering a mindset of appreciation. So, what's your strategy?
Hmm. So I think I want to start this with maybe an example of something that I had taken for granted recently that I've recently like started to process and come to realize. One of the things that I wanted to do coming back to the US was to be able to spend more time with family. A lot of people ask me, like, out of all the places in the world, out of all the states in the US that I could have moved to, like, why would I pick Ohio? Even though I'm from Ohio, a lot of people who are from Ohio who have left don't necessarily think super highly of the place. So part of the reason why I wanted to come back is because this is where my family is. And I just assumed that when I would come back, things would be the same. I could sort of just like jump back into life. And so much has changed. And one thing in particular that has changed is, one of my siblings is now living with a pretty serious mental health issue. He has a form of schizophrenia. And what I realized, and this is the part that I took for granted, is that, I spent all this time in China and I was like so occupied with like living my own life. And I just thought that, okay, I'll come back to the US and I'll be able to like, hang out with my brother again and things will be like they were before. And what I'm realizing is that like, that's not the case, right? Like he is not in a position to be the person who he was before I left the US. And I don't know if he will ever get to be sort of fully healthy and recovered again. And so it's sad for me. It's very tragic. And I think like the easy thing for me to do would be to say like, give up. Like I can't do anything about it. Like, like how do I treat this? Da, 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 da. But I think that gratitude probably has been the biggest thing that has kept me from like giving up, right? Because I can be thankful that he is still alive and he's healthy in other ways, and there are other things that we can do to support him. So I haven't given up my faith and my hope that even though things are different, right, that doesn't mean that I can't still be grateful for the relationship that I currently have with him, even if it's highly impacted by his mental health. So I think a strategy that I would want to take moving forward is, like you said, sending a little text here and there, letting him know that I'm thinking of him, reminding him of good times that we used to have, which is something that, yeah, I guess you think that like with family and siblings, they'll always be there and like you don't have to try that hard. But I think I've learned that like, no, like especially as an adult, you do have to try even with your own family and siblings.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's always like we always think the things don't change and we expect things don't change and we take it for granted. And then we realize, of course, the only thing cannot change is changing itself, right? Like there's nothing can be there and wait for us for the whole time. Like not even families, not even friends. I can't think like things they don't change. But like we sometimes forget that. And just like you said, the strategy to deal with this is really to showing you gratitude, showing appreciation. Like this person, like these things, this relationship is still around and we still need to cherish this and we need to show our appreciation to that. And make sure the person or the thing know we are really like thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also like I think it's often said the most beautiful things in life are free. And it holds true. You mentioned earlier, the sun, the clear blue sky, the trees and grass, the rivers and the sea. The most important thing is just out there and realizing all the things around us. Sometimes we feel like we want a lot of things in our life. We want money, we want like famous, we want be respected by people. And those are the things like we're trying hard and not necessarily to gain. But we forget the most things, like most easy things in our life, we easily can reach out to. So I think the strategy is like appreciate. I really like what you mentioned earlier is like you write down 5 things. What do you appreciate this day, today, every day before you go to sleep? And that's a strategy we should carry on. And to make sure you still feel like you're still alive and there's a lot of positive things happen around your life instead of focusing on the negative ones.
Absolutely. Question for you. If you were to think back on your life and, things that you maybe have taken for granted or an opportunity that you wish you should have or could have or would have said or expressed gratitude or appreciation to someone, is there a time where you wish you would have said thank you or expressed gratitude and you didn't?
I'm not really thinking of like someone or something, but I can think of or like an attitude. So, I moved to Singapore early this year, and then I realized life here is boring, And there's a lot of things I can't feel like the community. I can make like close friends in Singapore. And there's a lot to explore. I often feel like negative feelings of moving to here, but I don't feel like regret. But I think that's like how should I think about this is I need to change my thinking, because I always think like this is a opportunity, and this is a good opportunity for me to come to work in Singapore. I do show gratitude to my boss because they trust me and they want me to fly me from China to Singapore. But for me, I need to believe this. I need to really take this opportunity to explore and to talk to different people and really to know the culture. This is something I should change my mentality and how I think about this whole thing. Yeah, I also think because there could be a lot of people in China, they want to work overseas. They want this opportunity, but which they cannot, like they don't have. And I have this opportunity. I should really make it work. Yeah, and try my best maybe to bring this experience to people who are curious about like working in Singapore or working like out of the country, what that looks like. Yeah, I think that's something like I should change my mentality and how I should change. How about you?
Yeah, I would say for me, something that I have been trying to do more of, and this is more personal, is as opposed to professional, is in relationships with people. I've been doing a lot more dating recently, and that can be a tricky territory to navigate. And I'm trying to find ways to, I don't know, I think in different ways express gratitude and appreciation for people in a romantic context. I don't know what it is about romance and about that type of like relationship and intimacy where like all the rules of relationships change, right? Like obviously I know how to do it with my friends and with family, I can do it at work, but for whatever reason when it comes to dating, it's like everything I've learned goes out the window. So I'm trying to not forget that just because it's a dating or it's a potential partner, that doesn't mean that there's a entirely new set of rules that apply here, even though it always feels that way. So yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. How do you tell someone you like thank you or show appreciation for them? I don't know, without it feeling like the stakes are so high. Yeah, definitely something I'm working on.
Yeah, I totally understand. I also have like the same feeling with you. It's not like gratitude perspective. I think take it easy for gratitude, showing gratitude to your loved ones in a relationship. It's just you expressing how you are. You want to say thank you to them and how they take it. Sometimes we take it too seriously, and we're afraid if they take it too seriously or they take it like you're a weird person because of saying this. But we are just trying to be nice. I also feel like the communication, I can communicate well with my friends, but sometimes cannot like read in a relationship. That's like, I totally agree, just from different perspective.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting what you said. Yeah, we do overthink it. And sometimes it's just the thought that counts, right? Which is such a cliche thing to say, but it really is, right? Like an expression or thought of gratitude sometimes is perhaps more important than the way that you say it or the way that you go about expressing it. Just do it.
Yeah. We also feel like the thing we often take it for granted is one part is education. I don't know if you feel the same way, because we all been to like the higher education, we all went to the college, and sometimes we feel like take it granted because like we feel like it's something we're supposed to do, we should do. But in the reality is there more than 80% of like the people, they don't have the opportunity to go into college, but we have this privilege to go to the college and to study. Yeah, I think that's something like we often forget about it, like just don't mention about it.
Yeah, it's super true. I feel like, especially from the background that I was in, like, not in my family. So, like, my parents didn't go to college. So, that wasn't an expectation necessarily in my family that everyone would go to college. Now, the school that I went to, Of course, like everyone went to college. Like there was no question about that. And my high school prided itself on having an 100% admin rate to college. Like every student got into college and was going somewhere. But it's interesting. I do think that there's so much of that experience because in certain contexts, it is so expected that you go to college and that you graduate. Like not even everyone graduates from college. And so I think that because of that, there are so many aspects of my college experience that in hindsight, when I reflect on it, I'm like, wow, like I did take a lot of what it meant to go to a college like the one that I did, like a lot of that was lost on me. And so sometimes I think like, wow, if I were to do college over again, how differently would it be, knowing what I know now. But yeah, you're totally right. Education, even outside of school, right? You can receive education in so many different ways. I think that I have definitely taken many parts of my education for granted.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Definitely. I remember there's like really good habit we used to find like really awkward. Remember we used to have like Thanksgiving dinner and our boss trying to ask us to say something you appreciate today. It doesn't have to be like you appreciate your coworker, you appreciate your boss, you appreciate like the job you have. It's just something like you appreciate today. I feel now, like, even though by then, like, there is an awkward moment, but like after saying it, you feel good, right? I don't know if you'll feel the same, but like I want to say something like me and you, so we also reflect on what we are most thankful for now. And also for our listeners, you can also think about what you are most thankful for now.
If I had to say something right now, I would say in my neighborhood, it's like very community based. Like there's a lot of activities and things like that go along. And there's a group of my neighbors who have been extremely, extremely supportive of me. Even when I was in China, because I got my house when I was in China. I bought it when I was in China. So they like looked after my house. They like cut my grass for me. They planted flowers for me when I was gone. And even now, they like organize events for a small group of us. We're doing Secret Santa together and all of these other fun things. So I really want to give a shout out to the neighborhoods. They have been an essential part to like my happiness here. So thank you to all of you.
You should send this podcast into your like community, or like at least
I will. I'll
like,
send it in our text group. Yeah. What about you?
For me, it's really just very small things because I got hit by my ribs. So I cannot do any weightlifting. I cannot exercise. I cannot run. And I didn't realize. So before I can go to gym every day, I can run around the reservoir. It's such blessed thing. So yeah, I hope. So I just took an X-ray yesterday morning. I hope it's nothing serious. I can be back on my like daily routine. But I want to like all of us to appreciate when we have a healthy body, can work, can function every single day. And is something like we always take for granted.
100% there with you. Definitely appreciate your body. You only get one. We only get one.
Yeah, and they only get one life. So properly use your body and use your mind to enjoy your life. Yeah. We hope this episode has shed light on the universal nature of gratitude while acknowledging the nuance it carries within different cultural contexts and the stage of our lives.
Remember, gratitude knows no boundaries. Let's strive to embrace gratitude in our lives and continue to foster connections through thankful hearts. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and community. Your support keeps our podcast going, and we look forward to bringing you more inspiring stories in the future. Until next time, keep dreaming, learning, and embracing the journey of life. Be thankful.
Bye.
Bye.